because I can make every kind of preparations in these simulators. And also I like that I can imagine that I'm working with the real patient. I think that it's really good. And I like the feeling between the enamel, dentine and pulp. I can really feel that.
Sometimes before we heard about such program, a simulation program for dentists, but we think it's only a dream. And now when we can see it in our institute, so as for me it's great. I'm very grateful to you and to our department of our institute, because I'm very happy to work such right way, and I think it's very necessary to our study.
Fab. So there you saw some of the students actually from Tashkent State Dental Institute who very kindly went on video when we went there for the installation and the training. So you can see we've got a really good relationship with the university, with the institute, and they've been doing some amazing stuff in terms of competitions internationally using dental simulation as well. But without further ado, I'll hand you over. We've got Bekhzod on the line, and we're going to see if we can get his presentation up as well as his screen. There we go. Can you hear me, Bekhzod?
Yes. Yes.
There we go. Well, over to you.
Good afternoon. I am Bekhzod Yarmukhamedov. I am Vice-rector of Tashkent State Dental Institute, and I am glad to welcome you. In the ranking of universities in Uzbekistan, we hold 8 places among 160 universities, and the first place among medical universities. We train dentists and general doctors. Training is organized at all stages: bachelor, master's, and PhD. Our institute is second, which has equipped the educational process with Virteasy Dental in the CIS countries. Over the past 2 years, we have made significant progress. We have received the 3rd place at all Russian Student Olympiad, held a masterclass in Kazakhstan, and we became absolute champion in Russia. And this just the beginning. We have developed altering course on working on simulators. We have conducted a number of studies and are contributing to improving the functionality of simulators. Between theoretical training and working with patients, we have introduced the required models of simulation training. The main strategic direction of the development of our institute, what we have determined is the implementation of modern educational technologies. From 1st to 5 years for students of our institute, all types of exclusive innovative educational technologies are available in accordance with the requirements of the European Medical Education Association. First year students in the course Human Anatomy study on a virtual simulators Pirogov table. It's an alternative to working on native material. In the course Normal Physiology, students study at the Biopac laboratory complex. This complex digitally replaces our 20 laboratory equipment and performs our 14 laboratory work. At the 3rd year, students master practical skills on dental phantoms. Before working with the patient, our students practice skill on Virteasy Dental. This equipment allows to hone practical skills and precise level and give an objective assessment of the knowledge and skill of our students. Name three gadgets that play a significant role in your life. Traditionally, there's phones, laptops, TV, and others. The first mobile phones went on sale 40 years ago, were expensive, and one could only make calls with them. Nowadays, phones that replaced smartphones, which are used by our 86% of the world's population. The scientific community activity use the functions available in the arsenal of smartphones. Simulation training, as well as the first phones, faces a temporary lack of understanding of their capabilities. Why has simulation training become a necessity now? In the progress of traditional training, the probability of errors is high. Violation of the patient's right to medical care, the unreductibility of the experience gained, grown in the number of and volume of skills. Let's take a look. A prospective look into the past will prove the advantage of traditional teaching methods, such as demonstration of benchmark performance of a skill by teacher, assistant in operation, the development of clinical thinking. At the same time, the required components of traditional education are teaching in the spotlight, convergence of thinking, and the teacher insisting on learning. To be or not to be. To access the effectiveness of training using simulation technologies, we conducted a small study. The study based on a survey of students. The aim of the study was to study the effectiveness of the applied model of simulation training in dental implantology based on a questionnaire among students. 30 men and 30 girls of the 4 years took part in the survey. Before and after completion of training, students were asked to evaluate the quality of training on simulators. The Virteasy Dental available at our institute are among the most advanced in the world. And after the Ruden University from Russia, we hold a honorary second place in the CIS countries. Among the respondents, dental implantology as the future specialty was chosen by men in 90% of cases, and most of them already had experience in teaching traditional methods and installing implants. When answering the question, what do they expect from training on simulators? Our 60% of girls were aimed at gaining new knowledge and compare this type of training with traditional. The expectation of men was aimed at the confident implementation of practical skills. In the process of our study, students were given a brief overview of the use of simulators in dental implantation. The teacher demonstrated the main points of ownership of the technique. After 6 lessons, a survey was according to the result of the survey, men in 96% of cases indicated acquiring new knowledges, which was not expected before the start of training. An identical situation was observed in girls who acquired new skills in 90% of cases. At the same time, 75% of men liked the learning process and was rated as a pleasant pastime. Self-assessment that showed self-criticism of the man who give in 3 cases satisfactory assessment of new skills. At the same time, the self-esteem of 80 girls on good development was 2 times more than the of men. When evaluating the learning process, the participation of teachers, the use of interactive teaching need to combine simulation and traditional learning. In the question of the competence of the teacher, the answers were the same. Everyone was the same opinion. Students on simulator should be trained in qualified practice and active proponents of innovation. Using the best practice of traditional education, updating them in accordance with modern requirements allowed the formation of a simulation education. Simulation training has several advantages. Imitation of real interference, stress reduction during the first independent manipulation, clinical experience without risk the patient, training at a convenient time. Innovation teaching methods, which are on update and improved model of traditional teaching, have allowed achieving positive results for all participants involved the educational process. The main success factors for the implementation of innovative educational technologies in our institute are involvement of the leadership of our institute, consolidation of efforts with foreign partners, participation in the process of all interested parties in the educational process, teachers, students, potential employers. Thus, an important and necessary condition for the effective development of new educational technologies is the replication of results at the integrational level. Speaking about the development of simulation education, it is necessary to overcome the lack of communication between universities to establish an exchange of experience between simulation centers. Making any decisions, a person thinks about the consequences of this choice in the future. To give yourself confidence in such moments, you need to use rule 10-10-10. 3 10s are 3 times periods which you need to ask yourself the following questions. How will I relate to this decision in 10 minutes, 10 months, and 10 years? By answering the straightforward questions, you can evaluate or last imagine the consequences of your decision in the long run. Student motivation is a cornerstone of improving the quality of education. Having found a compromise between traditional and simulation education, creating the necessary condition for the development of practical skills, we will prepare from your qualified specialist. Concluding the report, let me introduce our conclusions. The use of simulation technologies is becoming the standards for pedagogical innovation. Being a good doctor is not only encyclopedic knowledge and perfect master of the technique of medical manipulation, but also the ability to communicate with both the patient and colleagues. Simulation training is not a panacea for all the problems of domestic health care in general, but at the same time they are an effective and efficient tool for solving certain problems. To achieve worldwide recognition, to gain a worldwide fame is not an easy task. And while we persistent and patient, we can get everything we want. And God help us. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you ever so much for that, Bekhzod. And like I say, it was an absolute pleasure for us to come to Tashkent, come to Uzbekistan when we did the training, the installation, and you put on a wonderful international event there as well. I was wondering, maybe could you share a little bit of your experience on doing the international competitions? Because we get a lot of people asking us about doing international competitions with the simulators. Because how many international competitions have you ran now?
We have 6 international competition in the last 2 years period.
Okay, fantastic. Because like I say, we get a lot of interest from our universities around the world that want to be put in contact with you to know how they can be involved, how they can run the international competitions as well. So huge congratulations on that. Now I was looking at Mentimeter because it looks like there are a few questions which come in. So I'm just going to go to that and see whether there's any that maybe you can help us with. So someone's from Croatia, thank you. Someone's just said, I love Tashkent. So I'm not sure if that's your institute or the place. And I've got one for you here actually. Is Tashkent going back to teaching? So like after all the coronavirus complications, what's the situation like in Tashkent in Uzbekistan?
Today, all training and learning process is only distance format.
Okay, so only distance at the moment. Okay, fantastic. Well, that looks like all the questions that we've had so far. So I guess something I noted actually when you were talking about, which I really liked, was how do you relate to something in the 10-10-10, the 10 minutes, the 10 months and the 10 years. And something that's quite exciting for us that's coming out at the end of next week is the new self-reflection module in the simulators. So you'll get that through the simulators shortly, and then the students will be able to reflect on what they're doing. So we might be able to look at whether we could add in your 10-10-10. So you could give students prompts to come back to it for 10 minutes later, and then for 10 months later it could prompt them with the exercises to come back and review them. Fab. So something almost as innovative as everything you're doing in Tashkent is a new project which we've been working on with Epic Games. So they're the makers of the Unreal Engine, and I'm sure you know the Fortnite game, which has just been absolutely massive the last few years. So they've been funding Virteasy to come over to the Unreal Engine, which is what we're working on at the moment, integrating the haptics. We've already got some of the visuals done, which looks amazing, I've got to tell you. So we've got a little short video here just to give you a little appreciation as to what it's going to look like with both the graphics and the haptics all combined. So let me get this up. So you got to see their little sneak preview into some of the projects we're working on with Epic Games through their Epic Mega Grants function. So it's going to be pretty groundbreaking, a mix between the virtual reality headsets, but that's just optional. But the real progress is going to be the move to the Unreal Engine, which gives us this whole new level of simulation, of graphics, but also opportunities, bringing other things into the simulation from a teaching perspective. So for all our universities, we're working with them quite closely, getting their thoughts and their ideas as to what we can add in to the next version of Virteasy. And what's really exciting is that all the simulators it will be possible to update the simulators to take advantage of all this new functionality when it's ready. So that gives you a little bit of an idea as to what we're working next. But none of this would be possible without all of the universities. Like I say, there's more than 30 of them now that have invested in this technology, have integrated it into their curriculums, and have given us so much feedback. So a huge thanks to Tashkent, who's been on the line today, and to all the other universities which have believed in this simulation and have helped us push it to the next level. So hopefully you'll be able to appreciate today that simulation really is here to stay. The quality is now to a point where it's just ready to be used and integrated. And now more than ever, I think with the implications of the coronavirus and everything that's happening in the world, so many universities are unable to teach at the moment other than at distance through webinars like this. And we did a CPD webinar yesterday for the training of professionals as well. But what's really encouraging for us is we're starting to see countries go back to teaching, at least with simulation. So obviously not in the clinics yet, but using these new simulations to be able to teach in a safe, limited way and get back to some sort of new normality, for the students and for the universities to have that routine, and especially to keep up with the practical skills as well. So that's everything from us. You'll be able to find out more on our website, virteasy.com/inquiry. We'll give you the brochure and everything else you need. So there's nothing else for me to do but say a huge thank you to Arnaud Cosson, the CEO, who joined us today, and especially a massive thank you to Bekhzod and the guys from Tashkent State Dental Institute that have been with us today and have supported us through so much. So I'll hand over quickly to Bekhzod, who will say a final goodbye. But from me, a huge thank you, Bekhzod, and I look forward to seeing you soon.
See you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.